Hey everyone, you are getting me right now before the podcast begins because I want to explain something going on in this podcast. We do live recordings of almost every single chapter of Deathly Hallows. And the first half hour to 25-ish minutes of this podcast is all the discussion that happened immediately preceding the live read that we had. Our live reads are on YouTube if you want to join. We're doing the rest of the chapters of Deathly Hallows, but it was just such juicy and fun discussion. I just wanted to include that in this. Some of their predictions are really, really interesting. And I just wanted to, throw this in there. So that is what this podcast is. As soon as it hits the break of the normal music, that's when the actual podcast kind of kicks in. Actually kicks in a little bit before that. But it's hard to tell where the kick-in is. So that's a little challenge. If you can figure out where the kick-in is, let me know where it is. Go check out our YouTube channel because that's where all of our live reads are happening. If you want to join a live read, that's the only plug I have for you today. You know all the other stuff. I know if you want to follow something, you just follow it. So if you want to follow us on Instagram or on Reddit or Discord or anything like that, that's all posted on our Reddit. Really, that's the best place for it, or on our YouTube channel. So you can go check us out on that. And then we are doing book clubs. It's called Newt Level. And if you want to be part of a book club, you just got to subscribe on Patreon or become a member on YouTube. And we are plugging away. We're going to probably do 2 chapters of book 1 for a while until we get to some of the really juicy stuff. So we're going to just keep doing this until we're done with the books. Very excited for it. If you want to join that, become a member on Patreon or on YouTube. That's it. All right. Enjoy this podcast of chapters 20 and 21 of Deathly Hallows.
21 and finally finding out about this symbol.
This is the chapter you learn about the symbol. What did he say it was?
And there's the symbol.
There's a symbol.
Deathly Hallows. Why is it everyone's
referring
wedding?
to the sign
I don't have pictures on mine.
of the Deathly Hallows.
Excuse me.
Anything about that chapter?
Maybe they're brothers, secret brothers.
Who's secret brothers?
Grindelwald?
Yeah.
Grindelwald and Xenophilus?
No. Dumbledore.
Dumbledore.
Or maybe the sister became a brother. Maybe she was always a brother.
Do we trust Xenophilus right now? Something about Luna not being here and his attitude makes me a little sketched out. I feel like you got to do a little a snake check in such a situation, you know? We don't.
Could you imagine?
There can't be another neck genie going on, but it feels a little weird. Well, I guess there's no parcel tongue, so that's something. But it felt like they were so quick to be harsh. Where I was like, well, give him a break. He's been very supportive all along. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's more to this story, or there's a spy here, or something. So I would think they would just be a little kinder to him, just wait to feel it out a little more. And with Luna gone, I'm like, she could be kidnapped and held hostage. And then it's they're just, I don't know, oh, he's a hypocritical old man. I'm like, slow down, get your bearings here first. Try and give him a wink. Try and get some little signal of something. I don't know.
Yeah, for real, yeah.
But now, feels better. But Rowena Ravenclaw? Is she the Ravenclaw?
Rowena, yeah, she's one of the founders, yeah.
So, I'm kind of curious. It's one of his inventions, but being modeled by Rowena. So he says, you've spotted my pet invention. Modeled fittingly enough upon the head of the beautiful Rowena Ravenclaw. Is that because it's on the head, like a stone head, or actually on her head? Because if it's actually on her head, how old is this dude? So,
were you ready for these questions?
I wasn't ready for these questions, no.
So I got lots of questions. But also, anytime it's something like this, we're looking for a Ravenclaw object. So something that Rowena Ravenclaw is wearing, I'm like, Horcrux, find this thing. What is this? Ask questions.
Can you read that paragraph again? Because I kind of missed
that.
Because
that's what I'm trying to understand too. They heard the front door closed, and so first they're looking at it. Wait, so a peculiar object standing upon cluttered curved sideboard. Oh, here we go. Okay, that makes sense. A stone bust of a beautiful, austere-looking witch wearing a bizarre-looking headdress. So She's stone. It's not a picture of her. Xenophilus is not 1,000 years old. Okay, good.
Someone said you had her head preserved in carbonite.
But you know what else though? This is a sick invention.
What is it? Can you read it?
The invention is this thing that removes all sources of distraction from the thinker's immediate area. So they could like put these things on and just be like focused on solving this thing. And if you combine this thing with some liquid luck or like some of those other things you can take before a test, like the wizarding Adderall, whatever they call it, they're going to be doing all right. But I think the part that gave a twinkle is wit beyond measure is man's greatest treasure. Because now we know where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
There you go.
And your treasure is wit beyond measure. So I'm like, I wish I could wear this thing. Then I'd be able to concentrate more on this. But it's juicy.
It is very juicy.
Wow. So it is a triangle. It is a circle. And then it's a line that goes all the way from the top of the triangle all the way down.
It does look like an eye.
Yeah, I guess when I drew it in my margins, it looked more like the vertical line was more like a cat's eye or something in the middle of the circle, but it's really the line goes all the way down the whole thing.
Finally,
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like you're really holding me back.
This
by
stupid idea.
now.
You finally know what this symbol is all about. This is a great chapter,
good.
guys. All right, you guys ready to finally figure out?
Yeah, but what I also don't get is a lot of people have this symbol at their wedding.
And we're going to get it
wedding
tattooed.
Planning. And then I'm like, what? The tale of three brothers? This doesn't make no sense. And Deathly Hallows.
Well, excuse me. Maybe everyone just loves Xenophilus.
It was so weird. All right, I'm ready.
I want a golden chain like him.
Be careful what you wish for.
That was a bit of a instant prediction that you nailed.
That was nuts. Nailed it.
You were like, I feel like Luna's not here. I feel like Luna's like, held captive by someone.
I'm like, why are they trusting him? This feels fishy. Like, oh my goodness. See, this is why, because they run into these situations and they're not thinking about how much is at stake and how far the Death Eaters would go to find them.
Yeah.
Ugh. But I did think that was a long shot just because I thought the Quibbler's been printing for so long that they hadn't gotten to him yet. Mm-hmm. But of course, now we see.
I know it's like they've extended their reach to the furthest publishing houses, ones that publish about crumpled horn Snorkax.
Yep.
I still don't know what Hermione was doing. I thought she was going to have... I thought it was going to be Ron was wearing the invisibility cloak, that Xenophilus was going to touch Ron, and then she was going to disapparate all of them.
To save him?
All four.
Because
All four.
Did she kill him at the end? Whole house coming down on him? What is Deprimo? That's the one I don't know, because that could be the one that saves him.
That's the one you don't know.
Like covers him. Well, because the Obliviate, that's the wipe the mind one, which is good because then they can't be traceable through Xenophilus, because after this, he won't remember ever talking to them. And the people who were there didn't believe him anyway. And they could think that, well, I don't know what they would think. Maybe they'll think that this whole thing was Xenophilus trying to get away.
But then they're going to hurt Luna, so that doesn't make sense.
Well, now I guess this crew has to go save Luna if they want to protect her, or they have to say,
let's just add to their list.
Yeah, seriously.
Of things to do.
But this feels weird because I don't know if John can even tell us what a Deprimo is, but it feels like they were willing to just let XL go and like whatever happens. We're going to bring the whole house down and leave. So 3 Death Eaters were in there and XL.
I believe Deprimo just destroys a floor.
Takes the floor out, which was part of like holding the house together. It brought everything down.
So she did it to Xenophilus. She did Obliviate.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't remember?
Yeah.
Deprimo is
But you don't remember that moment? You don't remember anything?
I don't know if it's so specific, but it felt to me like
I'm
it
asking John.
erases a certain amount of time. Yeah, but John always is vague about stuff we're not supposed to know.
I know. I'm gonna be vague about that.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm not really gonna listen to
Well,
your answer.
We'll piece this together when we do the podcast. I'll go through it. I'll kind of like figure out what info is good and what info you should just still
give us
guess
the
on.
info. Please.
Yeah,
Answers.
DePrimo blast a hole through the floor.
And wherever they're off to now
So,
must be why Ron needs to be wearing the invisibility cloak instead of Harry.
well,
But I'm not sure why. Like,
Yeah, why? Why is that? Why does Ron have to wear the invisibility cloak and Harry doesn't? Think about her. Why would Hermione do that? Think very logically, because this is how Hermione's thinking.
because she loves him more.
Because they're going to save Luna.
Why would that matter?
Oh,
to
yeah,
them?
where?
Wherever she is. They want Harry, so it would be a trade, but then Ron's hiding. But Ron's not that smart or strong to fight. Like, it would be like, oh, here's Harry, and then Ron appears and, like, helps to get Luna.
Think about what the Death Eaters know.
Like, if they saw them at all, it wouldn't implicate the Weasleys because Ron would be hidden, so they might still think he's sick at the Burrow.
That's where Ron technically is.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be sick at the Burrow.
So he's been innocent this whole time. So she did that to protect all of the Weasleys because they would be implicated if they saw him, maybe?
So she is right now in the Death Eater's mind. The only two people on the run are Hermione and Harry. They don't know where Hermione is. She's fled. She's covered her tracks with her parents and everything like that. But Ron is supposed to be sick in bed with Spattergroit, and that's why he's not at school. So if they see him with the Harry and Hermione, the Death Eaters are definitely going after the Weasleys.
Yeah.
So the Weasleys are in danger. So Hermione is,
True.
protecting what she thinks are her future family-in-law.
Yeah.
So she's throwing the invisibility cloak over Ron and definitely protecting him. And then the Death Eaters have to be able to see Harry for Zeno's sake, because if Zeno calls this and they don't see Harry Potter there, they're going to kill Zeno. Even though everything happens and you don't know if Zeno's alive or dead, really, at the end of this. But she's doing that so they see him momentarily.
Because they fell through the floor first
Yeah.
and then left.
Yeah.
So enough to save Xenophilus and maybe even get Luna back because of that moment.
Yeah. And this
because
is
it proves that
yeah.
Xenophilus really did have them.
Yeah, because Hermione is going to explain this in the next chapter.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it happens right then, so it's not really a spoiler, really, and it's like
Yeah, that does make
I
sense.
need
Yeah.
something, so thank you.
yeah, there you go. I gave you a little bit, Jen. That's the only little bit I'm ever going to give you.
Ever?
Yep, that's it. That's the only spoiler you'll get. Every spoiler from this point on, you're just going to guess from it. But I'll give you little tidbits here and there.
This was juicy.
It was
Lots of juicy stuff.
like the
to
Deathly
discuss.
Hallows is so fascinating, right?
So fascinating. Mind was going wild with possibilities.
Yeah.
So many things.
Some people are upset that I spoiled that for you guys, but it's in the next
Sorry,
one.
guys.
It's in the next one, guys.
Oh, calm down.
So we finally know what that mark is.
Yeah.
I can finally wear my sweatshirt.
I know.
Whoa, cool.
And you guys, didn't someone give you a wedding present with that mark?
Yeah,
Like,
the cutting board or
Oh,
something.
did they? That thing's been buried
You
since
can
then.
finally start using that cutting
I
board.
could go
Did you
look
get
for
rid
it
of it
again.
right away?
No. But buried anything with Harry Potter. Same with somebody wrapped. Someone wrapped a present to us in Harry Potter wrapping paper, but it was all like, I don't know if it was Quibblers, but it was all newspapers, like the Daily Prophet and stuff. And then I just saw something that said it was only a few weeks ago, and it said Harry Potter whatever #1.
Yeah, undesirable
And-
#1.
Yeah. And
I'm
so
sure.
I was like, oh, that's this book. Forget this. And just like crumpled it up and actually folded it very nicely and put it in the attic so we can re-gift it later.
That's great.
But yeah, trying to avoid those things.
Yeah.
It's very intriguing.
So yeah, we're gonna talk about all of the Deathly Hallows a lot and what exactly that means. But you finally, literally more than halfway through this book, this is called Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. You finally
We
find
know
out what the
is.
Deathly Hallows are. Yeah.
I love that it was like a fairy tale type of story.
Yeah.
Only because that brings back like the Indiana Jones vibes,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like a mythical fairy tale
Yep.
thing, but that's a reality. We hope.
If
you know?
I'm sure you guys don't necessarily want it that much, and you can do it. We'll do it after, but I can give you the tales of the three brothers. I have it in the room over there. You can read the other stories. in the
Oh,
Tale of the
really?
Three
That's
Brothers,
cool.
Yeah. There's 5 stories in there, and the tale of the three, or the tales of Beetle the Bard.
Beetlebar, yeah.
And the tales of the three brothers is like the vital one. But it's like an interesting story. So do you guys think that the Hallows are real, or are they just a legend? Are you believers? Are you seekers?
It's the perfect balance. I'm a believer, of course.
All right.
Yeah.
But we can take things with a little skepticism all the same, and we can say, could the Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone be what do they call it, a Death Stone or something? The circular one, the stone thingy. I'm like,
Yeah.
could it be that?
But
Because again,
that's
when
all
it's
3 things, you defeat death, which is what Voldemort's trying to do, right?
yeah, and that's been a bit of a theme here, and so it would make sense if that's what Voldemort was after, like to get all 3 of these things. But then the stone is the weird one, because if it isn't that, then we don't have a lot of leads. But maybe they go back to the graveyard and figure out something there. Maybe it's the gravestone.
The gravestone.
But yeah, I like when it's a myth or a story like that, because it gives credence to it in some ways, where you say, oh, of course it's been passed down for so long. That adds credibility.
Yeah.
But then it also means some things could have gotten off. What if it was slightly mistold, or it was a misunderstanding about a little detail of the story? They could always uncover something that reveals another layer to the story. So
I feel like Albus Dumbledore doing the A with the initials. Is it a believer, or was it him saying that he has something?
Interesting.
Like the cloak. And then he's writing to Grindelwald. Whatever. Is it Grindelwald? So he probably had something too.
So you think Grindelwald has? So Jen, you're an actual believer in the Deathly Hallows. You think they exist?
Mm-hmm.
So you think Grindelwald has
cloak
one? You think
exists.
Dumbledore has one?
Yeah.
I'm a little confused how this gets passed
The
around
stone or the wand was stolen from the house.
from Grigorovich, right?
Yeah. But Grigorovich was the wand maker, right?
I know. That's why I'm thinking
So
it must
has to be, right?
Could they find
And
another
then they
elder
were saying
tree?
it has to be stolen for them to have the power. So then it makes
Yeah.
more sense.
You had to steal it. But then they also, when Xenophilus was telling stories, he was saying, this person killed that person. This person defeated that person. And it's kind of funny that you have to take it, but it can't lose. So it makes sense you'd have to kill someone, but how would you kill someone if you can't lose? It would have to be like some kind of sneaky thing. Or it said they defeated someone, but how do you defeat someone if the wand can't lose? So
No, it gets stolen every time. That's how I
stolen?
took it.
Okay, because in one of those
You
things he said
defeat someone and then
somebody
someone steals it
defeated.
from you, and then you defeat someone and they steal it from you. I think.
Yeah,
that's
okay,
how
you
it
defeat them first and then steal it. Because then what I'm thinking is, if Grindelwald stole it, and then Dumbledore defeated Grindelwald, and that was the wording too, defeated, then that would mean if Grindelwald still had the wand then, it would go to Dumbledore. Because he could steal the wand from Grindelwald after defeating him.
No, I don't think you defeat it. I think it's just stolen.
So you think it's like a separate thing? Like you could defeat someone, but if you didn't know they had the Elder
You wouldn't
Wand,
be able to defeat anyone that had this wand. What is the Elder Wand?
you'd have to kill them first or do something else. You'd have to just steal it directly because you couldn't win a battle.
That's my understanding of
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
that
yeah.
You can't, Elder Wand wins no matter what. So
Yeah, it did say that,
maybe
right? Can't be defeated.
Maybe Grindelwald gave him the wand or something.
Like Grindelwald is
Like
good.
Dumbledore
and it was-
take everything and you hide it.
And it was
Or pass it out to people. Because then how did James Potter get it?
the invisibility cloak.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Even in the
It's from
story, it said
Dumbledore.
a father.
Wait, but then
gave
it was
to
brought
somebody.
up too that Dumbledore took away the cloak for a while from James. Remember? So he couldn't go anywhere.
Yep.
But I wonder if that was during this whole exchange of items. Maybe. I don't know.
Oh, that'd be really weird though. Because just for a second I was thinking, well, if Dumbledore, if Grindelwald stole the wand and then Dumbledore defeated him in 1945 and took the wand too.
But they said a white flag, which means he didn't actually fight.
But that is a defeat though.
Oh, and then that's how he would get the wand?
But that it feels a little weak. And we don't even know if it was the wand. It could have been the stone.
Yeah, well, where's the stone? I feel like the wands either track like they were saying.
And and I'm just thinking how long he would have had it. I just thought for a second it could have lined up with if the Sorcerer's Stone is the stone. Again, because they were using it for people who are alive to stay alive, maybe. But it also could bring someone back from the dead. So I was trying to make a connection with them trying to use, let's say Grindelwald stole the stone. They maybe were trying to use that to like save Ariana's life. But then it ended up killing her, or did the same thing in the story where it made her a shell of herself.
They had all three things.
Yeah, because Dumbledore had the thing, and then if it was the Philosopher's Stone, the wand, and the invisibility cloak, but
she still died. It was to bring someone back to life, but it doesn't even work.
Yeah, it didn't save her.
So this makes one master of death. But if she's master of death and it doesn't happen, then are they really? I don't know what the word is. Efficacious. And where, like, if Harry is going to go look for these objects, maybe the question is, where are they?
Yeah, what happened? Well, again, I'm kind of locking in on the Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone being this stone, the Death Stone. And
I thought you said the gravestone.
no, that's a possibility too, but I'm just thinking of stones that have had like.
But who has the Sorcerer's Stone?
Well, that's what I'm trying to think back to the first book. Yeah, like at the end it was destroyed.
So then
I was thinking, was it actually destroyed? Do we know? Did Dumbledore say that?
Dumbledore
It probably
was the one that said
was.
that.
So he destroyed it. Okay. Is that good or bad? Maybe that would be good because then it means if that was the actual Death Stone, it means Voldemort can't get it.
The worst because it brings back a hollow body.
Oh, so yeah, you're right.
It doesn't actually bring them back to life.
So maybe it would have been better to like sabotage Voldemort, let him get it, and then it's like a hollow shell of like whatever. But if he's already doing Horcruxes, he doesn't need this thing.
But he wants
to combine all three so he can be like super powerful.
What if he probably puts his soul in all three items?
Because he wanted to create Horcruxes out of them? Could that be done? Whoa.
I am going to ask you a lot of these questions when we actually do the podcast, but I might stitch some of this stuff in because it's interesting. But so the stone might be done away with potentially. You don't know really where it is. Where is the cloak?
I think they have it.
I think they could. It is very good. But I'm not set because Moody saw through it. That's the part that gets me. It's nice. They're calling it perfect. They're saying it's really good. But Moody, not even real Moody, Crouch Jr. Moody, saw through it.
Dark art.
Yeah, but
it
just feels like that takes away from it.
The Death Eaters don't see him.
Death Eaters don't see him, but then, or granted, Crouch Jr. could have just been using some other clues in the environment. Like maybe he wasn't seeing Harry, but he was seeing that the step was holding on to someone and he was able to put two and two together. I don't know how the step thing works. Or maybe he couldn't see Harry, but he could see through the step and see like a leg stuck in the stair, that the trap stair. So maybe he wasn't actually seeing through the invisibility cloak. But it's enough to make me think, is the cloak really perfect if he could see? I don't know. It makes the most sense, but we've heard invisibility cloaks mentioned other times, like
but
once
Ron
or twice.
also just explained it too.
Yeah. So are we supposed to trust them and say that's the one? This is the cloak.
Like to.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. What about the wand?
That's what Dumbledore taught us, right?
to be trusting. Yeah, but like we said the other day, look what it got him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he
Trusting
comes
was his
back to life.
downfall. Well, that's what we can start to
stone.
think about now. We're like, now that we're talking about death or death being defeated, it's like that's been a bit of a theme anyway. And like to the well-organized mind, again, it's just like looking back, we're like, Dumbledore was ready for it, whatever it was, like whatever death looks like. So we can hope. That's the hope here. And if there's a hope that he at some point had all three of these objects, I can't figure out how that's possible. But again, there's the hope that it is possible now, but we still don't understand enough about it. Like, what would that really do?
So,
oh man,
yeah. Well,
This is
I want to.
juicy.
Yeah, I know. We can have a full discussion now, but we'll save it for our actual podcast discussion. This is gonna be a good one. But ready?
whoa,
Sure.
a cold start.
I know a
We
cold
just
start.
need summary though.
No.
Oh, like not that cold. Okay.
No.
Yeah. Oh,
We're not
I
freezing.
don't remember.
I don't either. Danny's gonna have to do the summaries.
I'm ready.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome to the podcast. I'm John,
Jen.
Danny.
And Kristen.
and this is Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. Okay, we are on chapter 20 and 21. Right on time, 7:30. Wow, that is
Wow.
that is the best that we've ever done in our entire
Career.
history of this podcast.
Our career.
A career of podcasting.
Okay, so give me a quick summary of Xenophilus Lovegood, chapter 20.
So we're doing 20 and 21 today. So these two chapters is kind of like getting to the Lovegood house and then leaving at the very end. So this is halfway through that journey. They get to Xenophilus Lovegood's house and Luna's house, and then they kind of start the conversation. And then the chapter ends when they realize that they are going to get the tale of three brothers. That's the name of the next chapter. So this is all leading up to that, where he mentions at the end of this chapter the Deathly Hallows.
Yeah.
So
It's a good chapter ending.
yeah. And then you're like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
there it is, giggle, giggle, the name of the book. So yeah,
Jen's
anticipation in this chapter.
Giggle, giggle.
Yeah.
Nice.
I figured I'd say it rather than trying to giggle because it would just be too weird. Yeah, exactly.
You guys are cute.
There are a few good lines that start this chapter, and it's some funny relational bouts happening. But it says, Hermione's sulkiness could not mar his buoyant spirits. The sudden upswing in their fortunes and appearance of the mystery doe, the recovery of Gryffindor's sword, and above all, Ron's return, made Harry so happy that it was difficult to maintain a straight face. And then he says, oh yeah, well, it's just a bad habit we've slipped into, said Harry, talking about the taboo. But I haven't got a problem calling him No! Roared Ron, causing Harry to jump into the hedge and Hermione. Nose buried in a book at the tent entrance to scowl over at them. What do you guys think of the tracking, of how they're tracking people with saying the V word?
Very strange.
Yeah?
It rubbed me the wrong way. It just felt to me like something Dumbledore missed. Because Dumbledore was the one encouraging people to use his name.
Yeah,
And
but they weren't tracking it until
more recently, I guess.
until when he rose to power. In
Yeah,
the
which
ministry.
is fair.
Yeah.
But it still felt like one of those things like Dumbledore was saying fear of the name. Wait, what was his actual line?
Fear of a name increases fear of the thing itself.
Which is true, I guess. But isn't that a little bit healthy at this point? A healthy fear of the dude who's killed so many people?
But think about it. If he convinced everyone to say the name, then they wouldn't put the taboo on it.
Because you can't track it.
Yeah,
Everybody's
everyone
saying
is
his
saying
name.
it.
Even
Yeah.
Vern is saying Uncle
Yeah.
Vern. Okay.
You don't fully believe that statement? I do.
No, I do believe that that is
Okay.
true, but I think if you believe that statement, it's going to make you say his name more, which makes you vulnerable to being tracked. So I feel like Dumbledore would have known that tracking was a possibility, and
Wait, so you think Dumbledore knew about the tracking?
No, I don't
Oh.
think. Well,
Sorry.
what I'm
I'm trying to
saying is
follow
he's
you.
such a powerful wizard. He would have known that it was at least possible
Okay.
because he's the one with the Deluminator, which Ron used, which was the first time we've seen the name actually guide someone. So then I'm like, if Voldemort has a Deluminator and he's hearing his name spoken, that's a tracker, the beam of light inside of him that will guide him to wizards who are saying his name. So I was like, ooh, that's not good. So I have to think Dumbledore knew the power of a name in more than just creating fear. It feels like that should have been at least a little bit of a warning, especially knowing that eventually Harry's going to have to fight Voldemort to the death. So it's like, yeah, maybe not right this second. Voldemort hasn't, risen to power yet. But hey, Harry, when it gets a little closer, just know that like names actually do have power, and you got to be a little bit careful with this. It's like, Voldemort can track. So I want to trust Dumbledore again, but it just feels like one of those things that I'm like, ooh, yikes. If Ron's right about this, it's actually dangerous to say his name. Feels weird to say.
Yeah.
Jen? Did you take it the same way? Were you offended by this?
You said my name.
But not out of fear, out of love. And saying your name increases love for the thing itself. Right?
Love for a name only increases love for the thing itself. Come on.
Yep. So,
Nice.
were you freaked out by this thing? Did you think Ron had it right? Or would you be out there just saying Voldy, Voldy, Voldy?
Well, they haven't been talking about his name. I mean, they haven't really said it, have they?
No, I guess not. Not in a
Hermione
while.
and-
Ron never liked it, so.
I don't know. I think why not try to do everything you can to not stir up Death Eaters on the search for you.
And I feel like this set of chapters, especially the next one, actually supports this idea of old wives' tales that, spooky stories, little things passed down by generations, like general wizarding stories actually have some truth to them. So then I guess my question is, or maybe it's already been confirmed here by Ron, is, well, why have all wizards kind of united in saying, don't even say his name? It's like, it gives the general vibe, even if it is a wives' tale, what's the truth to that? Like, Dumbledore is saying, no, say his name because it leads to fear. But what do other wizards say? Like, don't say his name, just because it gives me a creepy vibe? Or are they saying, no, there's another story by, what's his name, Beetle the Bard, where he talks about some names that were said and how it impacted the world or whatever. Like, there's got to be more, like another wives' tale that would be a name thing. And it's maybe the same one Ron grew up hearing at night after the Deathly Hallows. But then nobody's mentioned it yet to Harry or Hermione, and they don't know wizarding stuff. So
because no
I
one
don't
says
know.
the name. And I think everyone doesn't say the name partially. I mean, at least my read is they don't say the name because they're just, it gives them the heebie-jeebies. Like Hagrid doesn't say it. Not
heebie-jeebies.
that there's like lore behind it. There is lore behind it, but it just is like a creepy thing to say.
Collective heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
just weird that everyone has the same reaction to it.
Yeah.
It's
I think
yeah.
it goes to show how the terror that he caused, like how scary he actually was, and no one even wants to say his name.
And I'm just trying to draw the comparisons and say, like, did those same things happen? Did we hear Crumb say Grindelwald in a weird way? Or was the terror not at that level? Nice. In our world, did people ever treat Hitler that way? So it's different for us, the same way it'd be different for the next generation, but we're 2 generations removed.
Well, there are names that are just banned that you can't name your children certain things. Like in Germany, I don't think you could name your child for the first maybe 50 years Hitler. I don't know if you still can or can name your child that or something like that.
Yeah, Adolf has been out for a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess it always felt a little weird, but now I'm kind of siding with Ron a little and saying, all right, if he's tracking people, maybe don't say the name. But I wish I had a little more from Dumbledore's side of more than just the fear element that makes it worth saying his name.
Yeah, there's definitely these 2 chapters are like the interesting lore. That's why I love the Tales of Beetle the Bard We should like read those. We can after when we're done,
yeah,
we'll
yeah,
read
nice.
them. There's 5 tales in them. They're like fun little tales. The best one is obviously the tale of the 3 brothers, like the culmination of it. But there's other like cute ones in there that are fun.
Nice.
But I love the idea of like lore that she brings in. These little fairy tales that are like Hermione thinks it's preposterous that this thing could be true, and then all of a sudden it is, and he believes. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of interesting. They do have another side discussion about the dough, and Ron says this. Harry did not laugh at Ron because Ron suggests that it's Dumbledore because he understood too well the longing behind the question. The idea that Dumbledore had managed to come back to them, that he was watching over them, would have been inexpressibly comforting. He shook his head. So is there any chance that this dough could have been Dumbledore?
What?
I don't remember what I said last time because I think we talked about this.
Yeah,
So
we did talk about what the dough was.
I'm
who the
trying
dough
to
was.
think.
You
of
thought it was
something.
Lily for a little bit, but you were like, I don't know how that's possible. So you guys went through
'cause
maybe
the
a few
stag
different names,
and
but
dough. That's right.
you never had like a conclusive person that you thought the dough was.
I
You had a few
definitely do
guesses?
now.
Huh?
I feel like it has to be someone alive, though, right?
I actually was thinking no.
Oh, okay.
How would it
Well,
not
he
be someone
flipped,
alive?
I feel like.
Well, I guess we don't know enough about a Patronus. For one, it could be a Patronus like Harry thinks it is, or it could not be a Patronus and be something else similar. And maybe Patronus things are just mimicking this thing if it's something else. But I was thinking, what's that thing? You die twice. You die when you physically die, and you die when the last person who remembers you dies.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, well, as long as someone is remembering somebody, maybe this is like a spirit
Interesting.
of them. So my first thought, well, I can't say my first. Over the last week,
Where
I've
did
gone
you get
through a
that
lot.
from?
Wait. Why can't you say your
my
first thought?
God.
Well, no. I not that I can't say it, but I don't remember what it was because I've had so many thoughts about who could have done this. And if you want to know my first thought, you can go back to the library, and I don't remember what I said. But since then, my thoughts have been the Lily idea of it being just a gentle spirit of Lily. Because I like the stag and doe thing. I also thought it could be Kendra or Ariana. Because again, we haven't seen enough to know if a guy's Patronus is a male animal and vice versa. Or I should say with women, female animal. So I'm assuming this is a woman, but I'm just not sure. So that was my initial instinct. But then I thought if it's a guy, what about Godric Gryffindor? This is his sword. And I think that was one of the things that I said where he put something, not a Patronus, or maybe the sword has some kind of Horcrux comparison where this is a piece of Godric Gryffindor. Maybe not a tether, not quite the same thing, but just he left a piece of himself in the sword so that it has an energy. The same energy that allows it to present itself to people. This was an extended presentation to Harry. Not as simple as the sword being in the sorting hat, which gets dropped on his lap, but the sword being nearby and then beckoning Harry to it. So again, the idea that this would be from the sword, and then we don't know Godric Gryffindor's wife or any other relatives or whatever. Like it could be another female in his life, or maybe the male-female thing doesn't actually matter with Patronuses. But those were my main thoughts.
Yeah, you guys had some funky theories for those ones. The Ariana, the it being a dead person is really fascinating. The only issue with that is there was someone there. So unless that person
Behind the tree,
yeah,
right?
unless that person wasn't the person who really did anything, and they were like maybe just the guardian of it. So maybe it could be Dumbledore if Dumbledore is still alive. Even Harry and Ron seem to think that the person has to still be alive because they both kind of come to the agreement he's dead. But they're thinking maybe he's still alive, and he cast the Patronus.
And I think that was a weird thing too. The way, maybe I'd have to read it again and see. I interpreted it as the doe walking right down to the water to guide Harry all the way. But it felt like odd Patronus movement. where you can give a Patronus a message and send it to someone, like an owl, I guess. But I guess we've never seen a Patronus do that. Like, what's the extent of what your Patronus can do? Is it like a Pokemon or a well-trained animal that it can do like whatever? Like, yeah, go get Harry, bring him to this spot. You're like giving a list of instructions. It felt a little odd because I feel like usually it was a one-way trip, like go find this person, or you're just releasing it and it just knows what to do when it encounters the darkness of a Dementor. And it absorbs that. But I guess it felt odd, the idea that it was a Patronus. I never quite bought that. Just something about it feels off.
Yeah.
I keep looking over waiting for something, and you're like, I got nothing.
Well, it's just because I'm absorbing what you're saying. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Jen, do you have any like?
I was just trying to think of people that was like introduced to the book, but like we don't really know anything about, or like a new character that maybe would be more involved that isn't. Like we haven't seen.
Because you guys had to guess it was Grindelwald, right?
Oh, I forgot. I don't.
Which I don't mind. I don't mind that guess.
Oh, that was a good guess. I like
Yeah.
that one. We'll stick with that.
Yeah, I feel like Ollivander, Grindelwald, and
But then
shoot,
they
I
wouldn't
was
go
just thinking
along
of
with
someone
your male.
You
female
guys, I feel like you guys
Yes.
just guessed every single person in the books.
yeah. So we're right. We're basically right about something.
You guys were like Lily, James, Grindelwald,
Oh.
Snape, Dumbledore.
Oh, I did say Snape.
and I was gonna say Petunia too.
Yeah, Petunia.
Because I think we
yeah,
mentioned
'cause you
her
think she's
before.
a wizard.
Like we never really knew if she was a squib or a wizard or whatever. So we're like, what if she takes this moment to say fine?
Yeah, you guys went wild with your predictions for these.
Yeah,
ones.
so we were a little bit of everywhere, but we just don't know enough to know. Again, just the simple thing of male or female, we don't know who it was. But I'm assuming McGonagall's Patronus
But
is
it's
a cat.
gotta
I
be
don't
someone
know if
that
we even
put
know
the
that.
sword there, right?
I would think, but the sword is weird to me. So in theory, the bad people put it in the vault thinking it would just stay. But again, if this sword can just pop in and out whenever a worthy Gryffindor needs it, or like shows Gryffindor qualities, would it do any good to lock it away? Or would it just like
I thought that
poof,
was a
disappear
fake
like
one.
a port key and just be gone? It was fake, but I'm just saying from the bad people's perspective, I'm assuming they understand what the sword does. And even if they didn't, they could ask, like Snape could talk to the portraits on the wall and be like, yo, give me the scoop on this thing. And then they would probably know, right? And they're like, yeah, well, actually, Harry did this thing last year where it appeared in the Sorting Hat. Or is the sword more physical than that? That it's like the sword and the stone. Like the sword can be there, but you just can't wield it to its full power unless you're a worthy Gryffindor. And the sword itself is just a physical object that can't move itself. I don't know. I like thinking it's a little bit living, hopping around, doing its thing. But we haven't seen it enough to know. The Phoenix still had to carry it in the Sorting Hat.
yeah.
So could the Phoenix have done this? Does the Phoenix have its own Patronus?
Oh
and it's not a
gosh.
Phoenix.
All right, moving on. Will Ron and Hermione ever reconcile? Because their lines in
Big
this chapter
time.
are so funny. There's a few of them, especially when they start in the next chapter when Hermione starts reading the tale. She's like, they were traveling along a long, winding road at midnight, and Ron goes, "Twilight." Mom always says Twilight. Then she shoots some
that's
daggers.
That is great.
Are they ever going to reconcile?
Yeah. Yeah, they will.
They kind of have to.
Why? You understand why Hermione is a little mad, but ladies, from a woman's perspective, can you give us insight into why Hermione is so furious and why she hasn't talked to him for?
She's got to get over it first. Those frustrations. I mean, you talk.
No, you talk.
No, I want to hear yours first.
She's talking again.
yeah.
No, I know I'm talking, but like you.
I know. That's why I'm like.
No, I know, but you talk. Do you have anything?
No, that's why I want you to talk.
Oh.
Like
I think it's
Guys,
more
I'm
like
trying to
she's
sort through
scared
in my head.
like
of what
she
to
was
say.
like so afraid of like
Yeah.
what could happen maybe that it was so scary to her that it was so like mean of him that she's like angry, like you could have died or I would never have seen you again, and you left on like bad terms, and it's like you can't even get close. I don't know, like you can't. So then seeing that person again, it brings that all back, and then you just or it's like a fear and anger mix. I don't know. You're better at this psyche stuff than me.
No. I mean, that's definitely true. I should have already read this chapter so I can have like more specific
I was
thoughts.
like, again, women.
But it's true. It's anger is a mask. I was just talking about this to someone. If you're angry about something, it's a mask for something deeper. So like what you were saying, it was a fear of like, would she ever see him again? And so he's back and it's like, all right, she's angry because of that fear and she's just got to process through it. She's young, you know?
for sure.
She doesn't know how to deal with
Agreed.
these
Yeah,
emotions. Those
agreed.
are big emotions,
Yep.
you know? So it's like, obviously
for
she cares
adults.
for him. What?
Even for adults.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, I'm speaking for myself. I'm like, it's a lot to process through, you know? But, you know, she cares for him. So it's like she's got to, I don't know, work through all of that.
Yep.
And sometimes you just got to be pissed off at the person.
Yeah, let it out, you know?
But we also don't know how.
Everyone processes in their own time.
True. How long has it even been, though? We don't
Yeah, I
know.
was going to say it hasn't been that long.
It hasn't been that long, but it's probably been like a week, I would say.
Oh, really? I thought of it as
Oh.
being longer than that, like a month, but
Maybe.
I just don't remember if
'cause
there was
they-
any other like gauge.
They left to the Xenophilus and they said it was still Christmas holidays. So it might have been still been like maybe a week or two have passed.
Oh, okay.
But
'cause
they were
I was
going-
thinking they were working out something with the portrait of Phineas, where it felt like that when they were talking about that, I thought they were talking about it in like longer term, like over the weeks. Some weeks they took him out, some weeks they didn't, and didn't all of that happen
That
while
was-
Ron was gone,
yeah,
or
that-
Ron was there for some of that?
That all happened before
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Godric's Hollow. So that
Yeah,
happened,
yeah.
Godric's Hollow happened. Then maybe like another little bit happened.
But between Godric's
Another
Hollow and
maybe
now
2 days.
is pretty short.
Like, yeah, or 2
Yeah,
or
yeah,
3
yeah.
days because they apparated and disapparated because they kept hearing people. And because Christmas morning was the first, or Christmas was the first time they said the name Ron, I
Yeah.
think. And
Yep.
that's when Ron was talking about that. So that's when he came back and he was looking for them that morning and they left the invisibility cloak. So it probably wasn't that long. And
Yeah,
then Ron
okay.
comes back. It's probably another maybe week before they go to Xenophilius's. Around then.
But I think also though it's like it's good or easier to be mean to someone and give them a hard time, so you're not attaching yourself to them again because you don't know if they're gonna leave again.
Oh wow, that's actually interesting.
Yeah, because that's the question. Is the wall going up? Because all of her anger comes from love.
Yeah,
Like
it does.
How?
Well, only because the only reason she's so mad is because of how much she cares about him.
Yeah.
Because if he was anyone else, she would have said, "Well, forget that dude then.
Right, she doesn't
Peace out."
care.
And then so the reason she is upset is because the amount of upset is equivalent to the amount of love. The question is, to protect herself, is she putting up a wall to say, "Now I won't let you close again, so I can't get hurt again"?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
will it
It
be
definitely
the
is.
opposite and say, we'll work it out?
But then
But-
he has to like earn trust back. So it's like a way of like you're kind of giving it to him, but then as he slowly takes it and then like shows like, no, I'm gonna stay or be here for you or whatever.
Yep.
It gets less and less of like the brunt of this.
And Ron, I
anger.
think, is handling it well
See,
too.
You're good at this too.
Well, that's because it's me.
Yeah, Ron has unshakable optimism here. I think he has to. He's like overcompensating. This isn't normally who Ron is, but I think he's overcompensating so much to prove to
yeah.
Hermione that he's like gonna stick around.
I feel like he's not joking around with her as much as he usually does, right?
yeah, because I don't think Hermione's allowing it. I think he's
Right.
trying to,
Right.
Well, yeah, I would shut that down
Yeah.
real quick.
And his joking is often like teasing where it would,
Yeah.
might approach that line. And he's like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get even close to that line right now.
I love the one thing where they're deciding to go to Xenophilius's, and she goes, but you think if it was Dumbledore would have told me about it before he died? Maybe it's something you need to find out for yourself, said Hermione with a faint air of clutching at straws. Yeah, said Ron sycophantically. That makes sense. No, it doesn't, snapped Hermione. But I still think we got to talk to Mr. Lovegood. A symbol that links Dumbledore, Grindelwald, and Godric's Hollow. Harry, I'm sure we ought to know about this. It's so funny. She's just mad here, but it's their relationship is interesting. Another maybe psychological question, and this kind of is confirmed in the next chapter, obviously. But Danny made some predictions about Luna, and her not being there, and how Xeno is a little shifty right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what would you have done in Xeno's position? Because he when he sees Harry, he brings him in, and he's like, "You ought to not be here." And then he says, "Let me go get Luna," and that's when he goes to alert. So he alerts him in this chapter.
Stupid. I don't think. I think it's dumb because I've seen it all the movies and shows you're watching. It's like an evil person doesn't do a good deed for you because you brought someone.
No, but he's desperate.
He is. He's desperate.
No.
Yeah.
Baby girl.
I know, but then it's like, okay, work with Harry to get Luna back.
Yeah.
Don't give up Harry.
Right. But that's the desperation, like not thinking.
Oh yeah.
logically.
I'm just saying, yeah.
If I was in his shoes, I would probably have put poison in the tea because they all drank it, and then he would have actually been able to do it. And that's why I'm yelling at the book in my mind. I wrote it in the margins. I'm like, do not drink that tea.
Yeah, for real. The Gertie root
Because
stuff,
it actually would have worked. You know
Yep.
what I mean? They drank it. They didn't even question it.
put a little sleeping draft in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Done. They all would have been done. And that's why I forget if I said it out loud, but I was
Yeah,
like,
but Harry's like the only chance they have against Voldemort.
Exactly.
Not. So
Yeah.
why would you give him up?
No. Trust
he
me, I
wants his
totally
daughter.
get that. I'm just saying, if I was in his shoes
I don't
and
know.
someone was holding my daughter captive, I'd be like, yeah, forget
Yeah, you're
this other
gone.
dude. Like, I'd love to say, oh, I wouldn't, the greater good. But no, if I was in his shoes, I would. And so I get it from his perspective, as much as I'd love to be like, no, you got to do the right thing because think of all the other people.
Because I'm saying you're all dead already. So like,
But
Does
they're
it
actually,
matter?
I actually think they're gonna let Luna go after this. Because what do they care? They're holding on to some annoying like weird girl and just like, like
feel
it's
like
probably
Luna-
easier to just be like, all right, let her go. You know what I mean? Like,
but she has like the gnomes or whatever. She's fine.
She has gnome
She's like
saliva,
so like she's such an interesting character. I feel like she could handle herself.
yeah, I guess.
If anybody
'Cause
could,
she-
it would she?
Yeah,
she
because
definitely
she just
could.
like is very like no one think her mind is different. I think than everyone else's logical thinking, and she could probably fend for herself or get
You
herself.
think like escape from the Death Eaters?
Maybe
That'd be cool.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it also wouldn't surprise me if, like, I guess if she already escaped, then she would have made it home by now, right?
Well, she
Yeah,
also
probably.
sees like I don't know the thestral. Like, there's got to be some other creatures or something. that could
Yeah,
help
maybe.
her.
If anybody could do it, she could. But I think this is really good writing because it shows the desperation of Xenophilus. Like
Yeah.
the Death Eaters come and they say like, you've tried something every week and it's been pathetic attempts. It's like he's going to reveal the definitive proof that the crumpled horn snorkack exists or something like that. Like stupid stuff. But you can tell it's this guy who's lost his wife. And that's the other sad thing when they go up
Yep.
to Luna's room and they see all the pictures of themselves on the wall. They see the picture of Luna with her mother. And so you like see the cost that this guy has paid and just through living his life. He doesn't have his wife anymore. And then he's about to lose his daughter and he's trying everything that he can. And so it's interesting when you read this and you reread this and you see like in your mind the face that he makes when Harry knocks on his door and he sees Harry. It's like a really compelling face. It's like this, he's an interesting character to me. And it actually bothers me a little bit that this happens in the next chapter when he says like, the Death Eaters are coming, or he asks where Luna is. And then Harry says, Mr. Lovegood, get out of the way. We don't want to hurt you. I'm like, I know they have to get out of there because of the Death Eaters. But I'm like, it bothers me because they're not looking at what he has lost and he is about to lose right now.
Yep.
So that's why Hermione is a heck of a lot smarter with her whole plan.
Yes,
We'll talk about
great
that in the next
plan.
chapter.
Yep.
That was brilliant. So we'll talk about that next chapter, but I don't know. Xeno, I sympathize with Xeno a little bit.
Yeah. Agreed. He's in a tough spot.
Yeah.
And now, if they read his mind, what?
I don't think like you guys.
you would want, or no, not would.
Or maybe I can't even put myself in there.
in his shoes.
Because I'm always like, you gotta do the right thing and get it done.
I really hope I don't get kidnapped.
But like everyone.
It's just funny to me that if they had come up with a plan, is there a plan he could have done with Harry to make this work? Like if they did the same exact thing. All right, yeah, I'm going to call the Death Eaters here, but when they get here, you need to break out of these like chains that I put you in and then attack the Death Eaters and attack me and then run. That way it might be enough evidence to get Luna released or whatever. Like, is there a plan they could have done? Or are they just going to give him truth serum and actually, or like Snape reads his mind? So I don't know how important this all is, but this is the closest contact they've had with Harry in a long time. Voldemort I guess that was last week, Voldemort in Godric's Hollow. But other than that, it was a long time ago. So it just feels a little bit strange. So it kind of played out perfectly in some ways to get them out of there. And hopefully Luna released.
There is one more thing in this chapter that I want to talk about, because I think both of you guys paused at this and you thought about it for a quick second. And this is the line. It says, he turned away from the window and his gaze fell upon another peculiar object standing upon the cluttered, curved sideboard. A stone bust of a beautiful but austere-looking witch wearing a most bizarre-looking headdress. Two objects that resembled golden ear trumpets carved out from the sides. Tiny pair of glittering blue wings was stuck to a leather strap that ran over the top of her head, while one of the orange radishes had been stuck to a second strap around her forehead. Ah, you have spotted my pet invention, Xeno said, modeled fittingly enough upon the head of the beautiful Rowena Ravenclaw. Wit beyond measure is man's greatest treasure. And you guys paused at that and thought about that line for a little bit during the live read?
Danny definitely did.
What was it about this headdress? You were like talking about the headdress for a second.
Well, it caught me off guard at first because I usually read so slow, and then the speed, I missed that it was a stone bust. I thought it was a picture of Ravenna Ravenclaw wearing it. So I thought this could be a Horcrux or something Voldemort wants to make a Horcrux, because I thought it belonged to her. Oh. So then that connection of it's a Ravenclaw item, because right now we're kind of looking for one, where the idea of the four founders having sacred objects that they've all had. So that was the initial thing. And then I thought, but how? Because Xenophilus is not old enough for that. That wouldn't make any sense. She's 1,000 years earlier, but then I'm time travel. So that's why my mind just went crazy. And then I go back and realized, oh no, stone bust, modern time. He invented this thing. Nothing crazy like that. And then it was more simple. It was just a pretty cool invention. I was like, put this thing on and then start getting to work of trying to solve some of this Horcrux stuff. Because if you can declutter your mind and get rid of all distraction, I feel like that would be like a superpower of giving yourself a little direction. Because they're a little lost about what to do next. But I'll let me read my margins here. Yeah. I said don't trust Xenophilus. Do a snake check, a neck genie.
I know, for
check.
real. Yeah. So it's weird because you trust him, but you don't trust him because he's giving more information. And even at the next chapter, when he gives away the tale of the three brothers, Hermione's like, "That's not it." And even Jenn, I think you were like, "That can't be it. There's got to be something else behind this like mark that like so many people love and get tattooed on them and everything like that." So we'll talk about that in the next chapter, but. You kind of simultaneously trust him and don't trust him at the same time. He seems like I think we've talked about this before, but even with Luna, you guys have been like, Luna, I feel like is right about everything. She's one of those characters in this that are like, whatever she's saying about, crumpled horn Snorkax or, troll saliva or gnome saliva. You're
Yeah.
like, these things are true. So when Zeno comes in the picture and he's talking about the tale of the three brothers and how there's these Deathly Hallows that exist in the world and how everyone's kind of looking for them, like they're seekers of this, you oddly trust them through this, but you don't know if there's something else there. There's something more attached to it. And this idea of like this headdress that he's putting on Rowena Ravenclaw is like, what is he talking about? Is this fact or fiction? Is this not another one of his like weird inventions? Or is this actually steeped in something more real? But you don't really know. So it's weird.
Yeah, and I think we also don't fully understand the story of his wife, and she was kind of like a bit of a zany inventor. But I like believing that it would certainly function, this thing.
Yeah.
And even the bust of Ravenna Ravenclaw, I'm like, how normal is that? That feels like a little different. I don't think we've seen that before. So it feels like there's just that, I don't know, something special about this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And even just her writing style of drawing the extra attention to it. It feels like something worth investigating a little bit. And then mentioning treasure in the wit beyond measure is man's greatest treasure. That was the other part that made me like, wait, what a sec. Wait, what's going on? Because where,
Like
your
where your
treasure
treasure
is,
is.
there your heart will be. And I'm like, wait, but your greatest treasure is wit beyond measure. So I'm like trying to make connections between these things of clues. So if wit is your greatest treasure, is that a line? You know what I mean? Like he's saying this line, is that like a wizard thing, a catchphrase, a little colloquialism that they say? Because then again, I'm saying this could be a piece of Dumbledore's little clue, but I don't know exactly how. And wit, like where is wit? If that's where,
Yeah.
your heart, treasure, wit.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like
think
trying to
it's-
connect all these things, and I just can't quite get it. But it got me excited all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the chapter ends really well. So we'll go on to the next one unless you have anything else for this chapter.
I just like that Kingsley was fighting so many people. and
Yeah,
escaping.
right?
Go Kingsley.
I know he's on the run now too, which is really interesting.
Fought his way out.
Simply because he said the name Voldemort. Okay, let's do chapter 21, The Tale of the Three Brothers. Give me a quick summary of this one.
This is where they read the chapter called The Deathly Hallows, which is kind of like a little fairy tale, folk tale that is talking about mysterious objects. We're learning about the symbol, what it means, and then a little discussion between these three and Xenophilus about whether the objects are real or just fantasy. And then the chapter ends with finding out Xenophilus betrayed them a little bit, called the Death Eaters. The owl that flew by the window was actually to notify Death Eaters. And then they're coming to capture him. So they make a daring escape with Hermione thinking ahead. And then it ends in suspense.
Yeah. The line that I was saying is, there were once three brothers who were traveling along a long, lonely, winding road at twilight. Midnight. Our mom always told us, said Ron, who had stretched out, arms behind his head to listen. Hermione shot him a look of annoyance. And then after they tell the whole entire thing, and we'll have a discussion on kind of each of these objects, this is one of the lines that we say, that Zeno says. We are talking about a cloak that really and truly renders the wearer completely invisible and endures eternally, giving constant and impenetrable concealment no matter what spells are cast at it. How many cloaks have you ever seen like that, Miss Granger? Hermione opened her mouth to answer, then closed it again, looking more confused than ever. She, Harry, and Ron glanced at one another, and Harry knew they were all thinking the same thing. It so happened that a cloak exactly like the one Zeno had described was in the room with them at that very moment. So, for one of the first questions, we'll talk about each of the Hallows, but do you actually think this story is a real story? A fairy tale? Do you think it's a fairy tale or it's a real story? Or maybe a mix of both?
A mix.
Maybe mix.
You said mixed too?
So are these objects then real?
Yes.
Yep.
Wow. So the cloak that they have.
But I don't get the stone thing.
That is the weird one.
So the stone's a weird one. So let's go over the two ones that you say are easier then. Let's go over the
Well,
cloak.
Harry has the cloak.
You actually think that his is the actual invisibility cloak that Death has?
Yeah.
I'm a little skeptical of that.
Why?
Because we've seen at least 3 cloaks mentioned. And they're rare enough that I don't think any of the 3 would be familiar to know how great this one is compared to others. Except for what Xenophilus told them. But like, it also feels weird to like trust Xenophilus about this while he's literally in the midst of betraying them. So I don't know, something about it just feels a little off. It could be. It lines up that the cloak hasn't faded. It's really old. It's not ripping, or like all of the things Xenophilus said, and even Ron was like, "Yeah, you're right. It doesn't rip. It is kind of like great." But I'm trying to think of the other 2 cases where we saw invisibility.
Moody had
cloaks. Yeah, Moody just had one,
Yeah. Or
and
they
then somebody else did too.
they talk about how Moody has an invisibility cloak. I don't think we ever saw it.
Well, the Crouch family had one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when it came up, I said, "This is the 3rd one we've seen in the books," and I don't like that Moody could see through this one.
Yeah.
When he was Crouch Jr. At the bottom of the stairwell, Harry was stuck in the stair.
Well,
And,
there is a point to it.
Explained it out a little, but
Yeah. There is a point to it where if he's stuck at the bottom of a stair, maybe he's looking through the stairs rather than looking through the
Yep.
blanket.
yeah.
Or through
So
the
nobody else could
cloak.
see because of the stairs,
Yeah.
but he could see through the stair
So maybe that's the
to see
explanation
his
behind
foot,
it.
or just seeing like that the stair was holding on to someone,
Yeah.
even if he couldn't tell. He'd be like, "It must be an invisibility cloak."
Because Moody would be like Death there. Like Death can't see whoever's wearing this invisibility cloak, but Moody can.
Moody can, yeah. Yeah, it does feel a little funky, but you're right. There are other explanations for that. But it also just feels funny if this is that important that Dumbledore is like, "Yeah, let's give it to Harry," because he's been a little bit careless with this, and it's invisible. He's like, he could have totally lost this multiple times. Although, how lost could it be? How far can you Accio? Maybe if it's like kind of lost, Accio. Maybe there's a Revelio too. Does that work on invisibility cloaks?
I don't even know what that means.
No, like Revelio. Remember they did
like reveal?
Revelio Humana or something to see if there were humans in 12 Grimald, and then
They did it here in this chapter.
they did
too.
it here, yeah. What the Death Eaters did to see if there was anyone upstairs, and then in general, I'm just thinking if you lose your cloak and it's invisible, and you're like, I know it was around here somewhere, you might be able to reveal it. But even if you couldn't, Harry might be able to
It wasn't
Accio
invisible until it was on. Am I totally wrong?
I thought it was referenced where it was.
I thought it was like
somewhere.
a chain link kind of like.
Whoa, like Mithril. Nice.
Well, maybe that's what I'm getting confused with. Great Lord of the Rings.
I think because in the movies it always felt a little more cloaky, like classic fabric, maybe. But
Yeah, you could just.
I'm trying to think of when we actually saw it, or if I'm just picturing Harry like putting the thing on. But I thought somewhere in the books, like when at some point I thought we saw it like on the ground and he was having a hard time finding it or something. But that is interesting. Like if it's inside out, is it more visible? But then when you put the invisibility side out, it's different. And then even when Malfoy hit him in the train car and then covered him with the invisibility cloak, I remember we were like, "Oh my goodness!" And then Malfoy's just like, "Yeah, sure, I'm gonna leave this cloak here with him."
Yeah, right.
When he thought that was like a clever little thing, but it would have been way crazier to take this cloak, which he easily could have done while Harry was just stunned there. So again, it's just one of those funny things where I'm like, man, if this is that valuable, maybe Dumbledore should have made that a little more clear to Harry. I mean, maybe not. Maybe it doesn't matter. And Dumbledore knew that like it would be fine somehow. But it's just not giving me that vibe of being that amazing because of how it was treated and talked about and everything. Maybe. And nobody else was as wowed. Were they kind of?
So let's talk about the Elder One for a second. If this exists, where would it be? And then let's talk about that question. Well, let's talk about all of them, and then I'll ask a follow up for that.
Jen, any theories?
Where is the wand?
Yeah.
That's so broad. I'm not sure.
I know. Do you think that we've seen it, or do you think it's just like in the world somewhere, and you know, it's just out there?
It sounded like it got passed around a lot by being
In history,
stolen.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, in history.
Oh yeah, Xenophilus was kind of going through that. I'm
He
trying
said
to
you
get
have
over
to steal it in order to
Yeah.
keep it.
He said there was all sorts of
But-
these legends of duels, or like people, not necessarily even duels. There were all sorts of legends of people, like getting their throat slit, or like dying in the middle of the night, or whatever it is, because
They had the wand.
they had the wand and bad things happened to these
I
people
guess
with the
I
wand.
always keep going back to how like Dumbledore signed his name with that symbol.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wonder if that has like a deeper meaning. Like they made a pact to like collect these items and pass them down to the like a prophesied child. So maybe Harry, or where you're gonna have things hidden until I don't know, someone comes. Maybe they had prophecies, like I think Danny mentioned. Maybe there's multiple ones that like they were preparing for Harry to come, and then they realized what it was going to be when Voldemort versus Harry. I don't know. So maybe they like, okay, like someone's going to take over and be evil and taking over the world, and they're like, okay, well, how do we defeat that? Let's come up with a plan. And like the greater good.
Interesting.
I don't know. Something like that.
Maybe
So
Harry
then-
is the greater good. I like that theory, actually. That's an interesting one too, because they had this one be Grindelwald's mark.
Probably because he signed it too.
Yeah.
And so did Dumbledore, but no one saw that Dumbledore signed it that way.
Mm.
So maybe that was like a pack, and maybe it was a third person that we're missing.
Oh, third.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Ooh.
Because maybe
Yeah.
it's one person has the wand, one person had the cloak, and one person has the stone.
And it's a weird one too, that at the beginning of the chapter, Xenophilus says the symbol is one that you would show to other like people or other believers so they can help you on the quest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also a little weird, because then just that dynamic of, is it some secret little symbol and then you're putting it out there and only, I was going to say only some people would know, but it's like, it feels like this symbol goes kind of way back. If this story goes way back. So it's weird that Grindelwald gets the credit for it.
Gets the credit, but maybe he
Or the
wanted
blame.
it. But maybe that's what needed to happen.
Yeah, maybe. And
And then how about the resurrection stone? Does this thing exist, and where would it be? I like the one line where Hermione's like, "That's ridiculous. You'd have to use you'd have to test every single stone in the entire universe." And Xena's like, "I'm glad that you're finally opening up your mind."
yeah, that's a great line. Kind of showing the zany side.
Yeah.
I do think it's real, yeah. But how do we find it?
Yeah. Where is it?
How do you test
Maybe
every
you have to
stone in
get
the
the
universe?
Elder Wand to find the stone.
And could the Deluminator do something similar? No, the stone can't talk.
Did all the brothers died
Mhm.
in the tale?
Yeah.
One just greeted death as an old friend. The other two died in tragic ways.
So, that was the other thing too. We were saying, well, if the invisibility cloak is the one, how did it get to James? What was that path?
Did these brothers have kids? Were they married?
Is it a
And
long
kids.
line of people? And yeah, Did it get passed down generation to generation? Is that why the Potter family was such a thing? Because Voldemort's always like the Potters.
So could they be descended from the Peveril family?
Well, also because
Yeah.
that was the grave, right?
Yeah.
With
You
the
notice
symbol on
Peveril.
it.
Yeah, I mean, they could be. And we had speculated that what was it, the Resurrection Stone?
What's Lily's maiden name?
Evans.
Oh, okay, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah. And she's Muggle-born too. But maybe she's not. Maybe we don't really know anything about the grandparents. So up until this point, we know that she's Muggle-born.
True. And we were saying, could the Sorcerer's Stone, the Philosopher's Stone, be the I keep wanting to call it like the Life Stone or something, the Resurrection Stone, because it feels similar in vibe, but then it feels odd to then call it something else, and then didn't it get destroyed? But it again is just saying that this kind of stone could exist. It's a thing. Stones can have power. If a stone can be a Bazor in the stomach of a goat. Is there a goat that's been alive for a long time? It's just had this stone chilling in it, you know? Aberforth's goat has just been just sucking on this stone for a long time.
So you guys are even talking about these like things that Harry should go after right now. So should Harry pivot the Horcrux quest and go after these Deathly Hallows? Is that how he's going to defeat Voldemort?
By
Like-
doing what?
Yes.
Put yourself in his shoes. What would you guys do? Would you guys go after these objects? Because if you had all three of these objects, you're the Master of Death. Even if, Voldemort has these Horcruxes, you can probably still vanquish him in some way.
Well, that's the beauty of it. I've been thinking it opened up the door to maybe Harry living by the end of this book. Because up until now, I've been thinking he might genuinely have to sacrifice himself. And I'm like, but if they can get their hands on a resurrection stone,
Interesting.
then maybe you can do both. But the part that is weird to me,
But
though,
you still think that he's going to die, though.
well, kind of only because I'm drawing like Christ comparisons. It's like, he's the savior figure in a lot of ways, and
Interesting.
it feels like all this. One can't live while the other does. Prophecy. It feels. I've been thinking he's gonna die, and now I'm thinking there's a chance he'll come back.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
But they've got to find the resurrection stone.
Yeah.
And I feel like their paths have aligned because we're thinking the Elder Wand was stolen by Grindelwald. They already wanted to find him anyway because of the symbol. So like it feels like all roads lead to Grindelwald at this point. You've got to like figure out what happened to him. Is he still alive? If so, talk to him. And if not, is there any record of what might have happened to him?
But then,
Dangerous because Voldemort's going there, but
now I'm really mad at Dumbledore if this is all true.
right, not telling him any of this stuff.
He didn't tell him anything. That's really messed up. Like, there's a wand that can defeat anyone's wand. And, let's find that for Harry. So stupid.
Why wouldn't Dumbledore tell him about this?
I have no idea.
And
I can't even think.
I was thinking Dumbledore got the Elder Wand if him and Grindelwald were friends and he defeated Grindelwald and was able to take the wand. But then it just feels weird to then lose track of it. Like, where did it go? Did he try and find a way to get it to Harry? Is it Harry's wand? Is it some other? Is it hidden at Hogwarts? It feels weird.
So you guys think that he should pivot from Horcruxes to Hallows?
A little bit. Well, you kind of need both. It doesn't matter if you have everything if you could even get all the Deathly Hallows, it wouldn't matter because if Voldemort has tethers to Earth with Horcruxes, he can't be defeated, right? So you almost don't want to kill him too early because then you lose track of him. Like, where is he going to get stronger again? How long is he going to wait? Can he just outlive you, So you still have to search for Horcruxes, but where's the next one? They have no leads.
They have nothing, I know.
But at least here they've got some leads.
Yeah. Well, what leads there for the Hallows?
Only Grindelwald.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it.
So does Grindelwald possess one of these Hallows? And if
He
so,
probably
which one does he
did.
possess?
I don't think he does anymore.
Oh, why?
Well, because I think
So you did think he?
either he was able to, it lasted when Dumbledore defeated him, or somebody else stole it earlier on. If the thing he stole was even the Elder Wand. Because it could have been
Oh,
anyone. We don't know what he stole
interesting.
from Grigorovich.
Yeah.
But he jumped out a window with something. And I like thinking that it's one of these things. So Grigorovich is a wand maker, so it would maybe make sense. But then again, how did Grigorovich get the wand? But it was something special and relevant to the story. So I'm thinking he either stole a Horcrux or one of these things. And I forget what clues have all led to it, or if it's just what I just said. But I feel like it being the Elder Wand would make the most sense.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm thinking if he had the Elder Wand that whole time, and then if Dumbledore defeats him, would Dumbledore automatically get it? Or is defeating a separate thing? Did Dumbledore even know he
Interesting.
ever got the Elder Wand? Or did Dumbledore just defeat him and then he was able to go back to his Elder Wand in jail in this laboratory he built? Maybe he never even used the Elder Wand because he didn't want to risk it getting stolen. So he hid it away for years. So either that or same thing applies if what he has is the stone or the invisibility cloak, if it's another one. I don't know. I think of Death as being tall, you know? So if Death were to wear an invisibility cloak, it'd be kind of large.
Yeah.
Could you cut it in half? Is it possible that Harry's cloak is only half a cloak?
Actually, in the movies, he does cut a portion of his cloak.
Oh, really? What happens
Yeah.
to it? Does it can he do something with it, or does it just turn to cloth when you cut it? Or
kinda
chainmail?
Yeah, it's just like he has his own invisibility cloak. The animation is next level. The animation is actually beautiful for it. But he just takes up the cloak and then does like a little slit in it, and then he hands over one little portion of the cloak. Death is huge in this thing, in this tale. Maybe we'll watch it after or something like that. I don't think
Yeah,
there's any spoilers.
nice.
It'll be kind of fun. It's a great animation. And I think that's all that happens. But in the books, it says Death hands over his own cloak of invisibility. It doesn't say he split it. It doesn't say he like cuts it.
Right,
He just hands
right.
over his own cloak of invisibility.
So if it was split at all, it would only be later, and then we'd still have to wonder how it all got passed down and whatever. But that's why I'm thinking Grindelwald has to be a good next stop, because he either stole from Grigorovich the wand or a Horcrux, or because again, I'm saying Voldemort really wants to find out what this thing is. And that's what leads me to think it is more likely one of these Hallows instead of a Horcrux, because Voldemort wouldn't have lost track of a Horcrux, I don't think. And that's the answer to our question too, because Voldemort didn't have any Horcruxes back when he stole it, because he
Yeah.
would have stolen it from Grigorovich before 45 when he was defeated. It would have been in the 20s or 30s. So Voldemort wasn't alive. Bless you.
Thank you.
So yeah, that to me that answers my questions. I answered my questions. I'm like,
Danny asked the questions
he
and answered.
has either the Elder Wand or the cloak.
This should have been
or
welcome
the-
to Danny's
Yeah,
podcast.
Rambling
Well,
Dan.
it is interesting that you say that, because it either puts Dumbledore in an insane light. Like, I had never thought about that before, because it really either puts Dumbledore in an insane light, like he actually vanquished the person who might have had the Elder Wand, or he might not have even used it. Like, I've never really considered that. So it's interesting that your opinion of Dumbledore could shoot up, or Grindelwald just might be super crafty and maybe he has like a whole thing of wands and he wasn't using the wand at that moment, and that's why Dumbledore was able to defeat him or something like that. So
Yeah.
and then where he is now, like, is another interesting question for if he has the wand.
Right.
Is this book just going to become a race to see who gets to Grindelwald first?
Maybe. I feel like that race has already begun. But if Grindelwald still has the wand, how could he be defeated? He would have to. Because again, if Grindelwald still has the wand, I assume that would mean Dumbledore didn't know that he had it, and they were enemies, and this was a genuine defeat. And then it was all a trick, because again, I feel like this tale kind of rewards being clever. You know, it's like if you're clever enough to deceive death, you get the invisibility cloak. So it's possible then that Grindelwald would still have the wand, and then when Voldemort and or Harry get to him, they'd have to find a way to trick him or kind of defeat him or distract him so they can steal it. And then Harry having the invisibility cloak really helps in that regard, because he could maybe use that to steal it. Since it feels like stealing is the way to get it. Or maybe beating people. I'll have to read that part again because I only read it in the live read, but
it's well, for the elder one, it's interesting because the person slits or steals the wand from the eldest brother and then slits his throat for good measure.
Another wizard crept up upon the older brother.
Yeah, it almost seems like just ripping at it or like taking it out of his hands is enough.
The thief took the wand, and for good measure. Man, yeah, you're right. So just taking the wand is enough. You could just steal it. It's just a physical object that's really powerful, but it can't lose in a head-on-head battle. So again, maybe why Voldemort is after it. It would line up with why Voldemort is asking Ollivander questions and Grigorovich, because he's after the wand that can beat Harry's, because he doesn't know of any other way to do it.
There's another really funny line with this one too, where it says, "It's just a morality tale. It's obvious which gift is best, which one you choose."
Yeah.
The three of them spoke at the same time. Hermione said the cloak, Ron said the wand, Harry said the stone. They all looked at each other, half surprised, half amused.
That spoke so much of their character.
Yeah, I know. It really did.
So much.
It's so great. Which one is the best for you guys?
The cloak or the wand? I think I would lean.
I think the wand.
I was going to say the wand.
But it makes you a target.
I know.
That's the part I don't like about it.
I like how Ron was like explaining. He's like, the cloak's the obvious choice. He's like, just don't gallivant around with it and you're good. The wand.
I know, I didn't think about it for myself. I just liked that it described them.
Yeah. Yeah, their character through this story is actually really funny. You see them, they're like, their writing for this one is so good, for the small little things that they say, for like even this line of all three of them picking something different, and you know why each of them is picking that. Hermione's just falling in line with the book, which is like obviously lends you to believe that the cloak is the best. Ron wants, to be the greatest wizard. Lori. And then Harry, which is tragic, wants to bring back his loved ones. So like, it's interesting how different people would answer this question. If someone said like the resurrection stone, you probably know they've gone through like some serious loss or something like that.
But it doesn't really bring them back. It's like
exactly,
ghost of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or a hollow version.
Yeah.
That weirds me out, because you think I would choose that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would.
Yeah. It's interesting that Harry chooses that, to be honest. Like, because he has the one line when he's at his parents' grave, when he's like, he wishes he was down there with them, down like in the ground, laying beside them. So it's interesting because he seems like he wants to go visit them more rather than him wanting to call them back up.
I think he would take any piece of them, though.
Yeah.
No matter what that would look like.
Defeated. Who can say where it is now? Arcus and Livius. And who can say who may have defeated them? I'm just thinking of, again, the defeated Dumbledore defeating Grindelwald and trying to see if, because that's where the trail goes cold from our perspective.
So you still are convinced that this is the wand, that it couldn't be the resurrection stone?
I'm saying 80% sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you think that maybe Dumbledore was really the rightful owner of it, but he just never really knew?
If that's how it works, but I'm also just not sure, because it almost feels like the wand itself, it determines who the rightful owner is. Meaning, if you're holding it, you're the rightful owner. If you take it from someone, great. If you defeat someone,
It's like the Ring of
you
Power
would
almost.
take it. But I feel like if you
What's the Lord of the Rings reference?
yeah.
You looked over at me and just looked over.
like in case you're
All right,
wondering.
whatever.
No, I was waiting. I was gonna be like, that is.
Well, I'm hoping it can't be as simple as just defeating someone but then if you kill someone who owns the wand and it just sits there, again, Ring of Power comparison, it just waits until someone else comes along and picks it up. Like it almost becomes a free for all then until someone grabs it. And regardless of who defeated somebody else, it would almost, if someone finds the wand and grabs it, it's theirs. Whoever gets their hands on it.
Yeah.
So anytime. And that makes it a scary thing because it's probably what Voldemort is after to defeat Harry from his perspective. And maybe for that reason, Harry shouldn't be going after it right now because he's bound to run into Voldemort if he's looking for it.
So that's actually an interesting one too. If Voldemort, if Voldemort just picks this up, like, does it kind of make him the rightful owner of the wand?
Well, it seems like it because again, like when the dude was sleeping, his brother or his younger brother, right, just grabbed it and then slit his throat for good measure. So you can just pick it up. Would it work? Or did it not work until after he slit the throat? Then he became the rightful owner because he had to like kill him. It kind of feels like you could maybe steal the slaughter of Emmerich the Evil, or how Godelot died in his own cellar after his son took the wand from him. That's a weird one too, because we don't know a lot about Godelot, but he died in his cellar after his son took the wand. Did he die because he didn't have the wand anymore? Or did his son lock him in the cellar and he just starved to death and his son went around using the wand? But again, did his son rightfully use the wand only after the guy had died?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Danny's going to connect the whole trail. He's going to go home. He's going to look through his notebook and find the exact trail where this
If I have all the names written down. Do we know Barnabas? Who took the wand from Barnabas Deverell? What's the name of the dude with the one eye in the castle?
Was that mentioned like?
I don't know. It's like it was the statue that Harry went behind to take the secret tunnel.
No, that was a one-eyed witch.
Oh, one-eyed witch. Okay,
I'm thinking of the
for whatever reason I thought it
Barumphio.
had a B in it.
You're thinking of Barumphio, who once did a summoning charm but said it wrong and got a hippo landed on him or something like that.
It's a painting, right? Yeah.
It's like in the first book or something like that.
Yeah.
I think.
No recollection.
Because it sounds like buffalo.
Yeah.
Baruffalo or something.
Yeah, he had a buffalo land on him or something.
Are you?
Okay, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to connect these dots. Who took the wand, whom he had killed.
So it's a race for this, but they still, the Horcrux chase is still on. So maybe just a Horcrux question before we wrap up this chapter. Do you think that Voldemort knows they're hunting for Horcruxes at this point?
Yeah, I do think so, because Dumbledore went to Snape with the hand issue. And I think Snape would have picked up on what caused it.
That's a great point.
I don't know that he would have known. It might not be a normal way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But he
Does
might
Snape
have.
even know about it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. He might not actually know, though. Snape might not know that there were Horcruxes. And even if he did, he might not know that that's what the hand means.
Yeah, because really the book seems to lend an ear to saying no one knows about it except Voldemort thinks he's the only one. Because he called in a house elf and then just tried to dispose of the house elf there. So he didn't call any servants in to hide this stuff or to disguise this stuff. So
Yeah.
do you think that he feels something when a Horcrux is destroyed?
That's
Like they
what
just
I
destroyed the Horcrux. Do you think that part of him
He
hurts?
feels it.
I was saying no. And I was using the analogy of the hot air balloon. with the tethers being the comparison.
Yeah.
If it's just sitting on the ground on Earth like Voldemort is, there's no tension on those tethers. You wouldn't know if it was cut or loose or if it was
I'm
actually
thinking
going
they
somewhere.
cut all the Horcruxes, and all of a sudden Voldemort just ascends. He's like, dang
And
it,
he's gone.
no!
His spirit is just like off to, or I should say down to. And so it's just the idea that if there's no tension on a tether, like, I don't think the word tether is in the books, but I think you had said that, or people in the chat were saying it as being a great word to have it make sense because we were kind of having a hard time with it. So yeah, if the hot air balloon's sitting on the ground with 6 or 7 tethers and they're all cut, you wouldn't know until it's put to the test. So in that vein, if they have a Horcrux and Voldemort is dying and then, they kill the last one as they're killing him, then maybe he'd feel it like in that moment. But I think if they dispose of all these ahead of time, he wouldn't know for sure. But he seems a relatively cautious guy. It wouldn't surprise me if he was aware of it. If not yet, soon. Because he has to know they're trying to defeat him.
Yeah.
But would he know that Dumbledore even knows they exist? Or does he really, his arrogance might be blinding him?
Yeah, for sure. I think so. Okay, one last question for this chapter. This is one of the lines that we get. And I kind of explained a little bit of this, but I want to hear what you guys actually think about what's going on here. Harry held out his left hand. Ron vanished beneath the cloak. The printing press blocking the stairs was vibrating. Xenophilus was trying to shift it using a hover charm. Harry did not know what Hermione was waiting for. Hold tight, she whispered. Hold tight. Any second. Xenophilius' paper white face appeared over the top of the sideboard. Obliviate, cried Hermione, pointing her wand first into his face, then at the floor beneath them. De Primo. She had blasted a hole in the sitting room floor. They fell like boulders, Harry still holding on to her hand for dear life. There was a scream from below, and he glimpsed 2 men trying to get out of the way, as vast quantities of rubble and broken furniture rained all around them from the shattered ceiling. Hermione twisted in midair, and the thundering of the collapsing house rang in Harry's ear as she dragged him once more into darkness. So what is she doing there? What is Hermione up to?
What's she up to, Jen?
I think we kind of touched on it last time, but I didn't actually catch it that first time. I forgot what I said.
Well, it seems like apparating is the end thing, right? In that swirling darkness of squeezingness. But before that, we were going back and forth and saying, what's going on? She erased.
Why did she erase his memory?
Honestly, a little strange.
Yeah.
But I think she's hoping Voldemort won't know they're on the path of the Hallows.
Okay. Interesting.
And they don't know that much yet. We think Voldemort's on that path potentially.
Yeah.
But it would help keep them a little separate. So yeah, I think it was just being cautious. But it also seems a little lame because, like I said before, there's a chance they'd let Luna go if they knew that Xenophilus was innocent. And now they can't read his mind. I forgot about that. To know that he's innocent. He actually was intending on doing what the Death Eaters would have approved of. Turning on them, turning them in to get his daughter back.
Yeah.
And even that intention might be enough to say, all right, we'll give her back. You tried your best, whatever.
Yeah.
That's being a little optimistic of Death Eaters. But now, well, I guess they have enough evidence. They saw them. They saw them there.
Yep.
That's something.
I know. So yeah, so they're able to see him. So they definitely have something that like he wasn't lying. So they're not going to kill Luna for it or like torture him for it probably.
Yeah.
But they are Death Eaters, so you don't really ever really know what the heck they're doing.
Yeah, and like Jen was saying, it's hard to trust. Like whenever people in shows do that, I'm like, they're never going to set that kidnapped person free. They're just going to, kill them anyways. So don't give them what they want.
It's a good chapter end.
I like the friendship that Luna of like
I
the
know,
pictures.
yeah.
That was so cute.
Yeah. You're like, it's a little creepy.
A little creepy.
But like imagine walking into like your friend's house and all of a sudden they have pictures all on the wall of you. It's like it's
It is a little
You're
creepy,
like,
but coming
okay.
from her, that's
yeah,
really
exactly.
sweet.
It depends on
Yes.
the person that it's
Yes.
from. Coming from her, you're like, Luna, I love
That
you
was
so
my
much.
favorite
She's
part.
great.
Harry felt a great rush of affection for Luna.
Let's go on to that. The favorite moment, unless Danny has anything else in this chapter.
Well, of course I do. Let me just look one second.
Skim through it. I'm sure you have tons.
Oh, there was only
Black Sock Club today.
Xenophilus sitting up much straighter in his chair and goggling at Hermione. I thought you were new to the Hallows quest. Many of us questers believe that the Peverils have everything to do with the Hallows. So that line didn't stand out to me that much when I first read it. But then reading it now, I was like, wait a second. If we're taking him at his words, and we very much are, that makes me think it's a good place to start looking for these. And we don't know much about them, but maybe we can do some little digging. I don't know if Hermione can find any kind of library things, or if she has a book, or if you go back to that like grave, because that's one of the few things, and actually take a little more time to look at it. If they have everything to do with the Hallows.
Could you imagine them going back to Godric's Hollow?
Well, that's not when they were leaving. We're like, they may never come back. And I did say it's worth investing a little more time into it. Dangerous, I think, to go back there, but probably safer than looking for Grindelwald.
Yeah, probably.
The only other thing was, where was it at the beginning? You can keep going with the end of the chapter, and I'll keep looking for this thing because I forget exactly what it was. Oh, wait, no, I remembered. It was where Ron said twilight versus midnight.
Versus midnight? Oh, interesting.
And right before that, Xenophilus said, Hermione said she had a copy.
Of the
Xenophilus
original.
said the original ? So now that introduced another layer to this, that there
Translation
is an original
discrepancies.
and there are discrepancies. Will that play into specifics?
I
And
love this.
do you have to be somewhere at midnight or twilight in order to
Is that the close? Is that where it opens at the close?
the close of the day at twilight?
That's it.
I don't know.
We've unlocked it. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
So, anyways, that was the only other thing.
It's interesting. It's an interesting thing to keep in mind with the discrepancies, because you know the next chapter, what it's called. You can look at it. It's called Deathly Hallows, or no, it's called the Deathly Hallows. So we get more of like a deep dive on them in that one.
I just happened to turn to a few pages later where I underlined "say more." I said, "One of those superstitions, isn't it? Mayborn witches will marry muggles."
Yeah.
And I was like, huh. But the next line, jinx by twilight, undone by midnight. And I'm like, we're just talking about twilight and midnight. What are the
Yeah.
chances I'd flip 2 pages over and find that line?
a great
Wand
one.
of Elder never prosper. And then Ron says, my mom's full of them. I'm like, yeah, ask her all of those. These all sound like clues. And
I know.
I'm like, oh my goodness. The close of a jinx, you know?
Yeah, for real.
And also, anyone born in May? Who do we know?
I don't know if you know anybody born in May.
Hermione. Maybe?
Maybe.
No, she's got my birthday.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
Tuesday
September.
born? Her
Yeah.
birthday is September 19th.
Okay, nice.
My birthday.
Harry,
Love that.
July 31st. Ron. Do we know? March? I'm trying to make him a March baby.
1st.
Nice.
What
Okay,
is
cool.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, we don't know any May people.
Maybe we're gonna come. Maybe Grindelwald is,
Yeah.
But that one's like a simple one. It's just marry.
Yeah,
the
just
muggle,
marry muggles.
so-
But that's cool,
Yeah.
We like it.
All
All right. Sorry. I keep.
Do you know Voldemort's birthday?
Why do we care?
I know. Maybe he's gonna marry. Because I'm saying maybe he's gonna marry a muggle, or maybe he married a muggle, and it's like something in his past.
I was going to say.
Here he's gonna dig up the information. Rita Skeeter is gonna dig up the information in his past. Why do we care? I like that. All right. Favorites.
Yeah.
Favorite moment.
but his
Hot
mom-
tamale.
okay,
favorite
yeah.
character.
That was a sad story, though.
Which one?
Dumbledore's mom.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Even though she was a little off her
Yeah.
rocker too.
Your favorite one was Luna.
Yeah, I like that sweet moment.
Favorite
even though
moment?
it could be a little creepy. If
Yeah.
we're like having them all on
Yeah.
a wall. I just thought that was sweet coming from her. That they really mean a lot to her.
Yeah, that was a good one. I like the moment of Hermione just snapping into action at the end. That's maybe my favorite moment. Like how
That's
quick she is. And I love that she's like, do you trust me? She doesn't have time to explain it. She's like, just, do you trust me? And they're like, yeah. All right. And she just snaps to action. She's like, all right.
And I like
throw
that
this
she
on.
asked. She almost
I know.
didn't even have to.
Yeah.
They would have been like, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
She needs the brains anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Deprimo.
What are your guys' favorite?
All the ways to say it.
What are your guys' favorite moment?
I like that they explain the symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good end of the chapter too, because he's like, you must be talking about the symbol or the sign of the Deathly Hallows. And you're like, finally, the title of the book.
Yeah, that was good.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the story being read out and hearing it felt like real answers and full of intrigue and mystery and clues and progress we can sink our teeth into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good.
So yeah, that I think was my favorite.
Any hot tamales in this chapter? I don't know.
Hermione.
yeah.
I was gonna give her
She's
the house cup.
sassy with-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be good too.
No, she could work for the hot tamale though.
What's
Can't
wrong?
think of anyone else.
I'm just
Ginny
thinking
was in this chapter. Because Harry looks over the horizon and imagines Ginny. This is the
yeah,
closest
you're
that they've
right.
been since the wedding.
Oh.
So I'm giving it
That's
to
kind of
Ginny.
cute.
Ginny's the hot tamale.
I might.
That's a stretch.
Jen's like, dang it. Why didn't I think of that?
I love giving it to Ginny. I would say maybe Luna or Harry, just that dynamic, the rush of affection that he felt towards her,
Yeah.
the friendship. I feel like that something about that. I don't think it was romantic affection, but still just that bond. I think that was a certain energy. And I just feel bad for her now. She's being held by Death Eaters. So I'm imagining she's being even more of more spicy over there with them, trying to annoy them or get intel.
And then favorite character in these.
That I'm gonna go with Hermione for her quick snapping into action.
Yeah. She's very snappy. Snapping into action, snappy at Ron.
Yep. It's the theme of these chapters.
Yeah. I'm actually going to give it to Ron because of his incredible optimism in these two chapters.
It
He's
is
just like
refreshing, yeah.
so go-getter.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, we can do it. Let's go, guys. We one down. There's a few more to go. He's
Yeah.
like so excited and happy, and he's like, it's good to have Ron back again, like more
It is good to have
officially.
him back.
I almost want to give it to Xenophilus. Almost. I'm like, he's being a good father.
Yeah.
No, I think I've got to give it to Hermione. Just for this final moment.
Yeah, the final moment is good. Jen, who's your favorite character?
I'm probably gonna go with that too.
It's so good.
She kind of like saved them all.
I know. She saved the day.
Not kind of.
Literally
Yeah.
saved them all.
Twice.
Yep.
The hot
Multiple
tamale
times.
is death.
So spicy.
Taking people as his own. All right.
That's a good one.
Sorry, I was just reading and I saw that.
On that note, thanks for joining us on our journey of Harry Potter and the hot tamales for first time readers. Death is a hot tamale. I like it.
Do we get to turn
on
the
your
page
level.
and look at the next chapter title?
Yeah. Well, I told you the next chapter title is called
Oh, you
The
did?
Deathly Hallows.
Oh yeah, nice.
What's
All right,
the
picture? Did we already
artwork?
investigate this? I don't remember looking at it before. Okay, this is an interesting looking picture. There is a raven, maybe, on top of a lamp giving light. And I'm going to say Harry and Hermione are on the ground in their